Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start with a new topic, that is design patterns. So in the question paper, you will get the question of the design pattern, some around 5 marks, and the question has already come in January 2019, July 2017. The question will be, what is design pattern, and explain the four elements of design pattern. Okay, so there are some four elements which is present inside your design pattern. You are going to write briefly about all this, and it will be hardly of your 5 to 6 marks of question. So moving towards your first slide. Here you can see, first let's understand what do you mean by your design pattern. Okay, so this design pattern, it is nothing, you are going to reuse like some of the, if there will be any problem. Okay, if you have any software design and that context you are going to solve by using some of the reusable solutions, that is nothing but you have, that is known as your design pattern. So here you can see the first point, that is, this is a way of reusing the abstract knowledge. So what do you mean by abstract knowledge? This is nothing but that is a raw knowledge. So you have an idea. Suppose if I will tell you that, just think about you can take like a computer. Suppose I will tell you that, think about computer. So there are many things will come to your mind. Okay, and also you will have many problems in your mind, that yes, if I will do in this way, then what will be the answer of that. You will have the solution also along with that. So that kind of things is known as your abstract knowledge. Okay, so whenever we are going to reuse this abstract knowledge, because you see, suppose I have the computer, if I'm utilizing that computer now, and then suppose in the same abstract knowledge I will use for the laptop, then what I'm going to do, I have been reused, right? So if you have any problem or solution, and if you are going to reuse all these things, that is known as your design pattern. And also this pattern, what do you mean by this pattern? There will be many things. Okay, if I will tell you the graphical notations, so if you want to give any, if you want to present your knowledge in terms of your diagram, many students can go for the algorithm, many students can go for the flow chart, many students can go for the state chart diagram, many students can go for use case. So all these varieties, wherever you are describing your problem with the solution, that kind of things is known as your patterns. Okay, so many designs will have the problem with the solutions, so that is nothing but that is your design patterns. And what is the next, how you are going to utilize this one, this abstract knowledge, you have to reuse it in different settings. Whenever you will have the different settings, you can utilize all these things. Okay, this abstract knowledge. And also it will have the object oriented characteristics that you have to remember. This pattern description will have, this pattern description will have the object oriented characteristics. Means which one? The abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, all the concept of about these things you are going to use in your patterns. Okay, so generally you have to remember how you are going to utilize. Major thing is in design pattern is you will have the software design, and suppose if you have any kind of the problems and you have already the solutions, in which way you are going to reuse the solutions, in which way you are going to show the solutions in terms of your design, that is nothing but it is known as your design pattern. So individual points is having the individual meanings, you have to understand. So pattern is nothing but it will describe all the problem with the solution, and whenever you are putting all the abstract knowledge with the problem and solution of reusement, that is known as your design pattern. And it will have the different kinds of your settings, and also it will have the characteristics of object oriented languages and all. It's like inheritance, polymorphism. So these all are the 4 points, very easily you can remember. Moving towards the next one, you know that I told you that this design patterns is of how many types? Is of 4 types. But before that, let's see what do you mean by patterns. You can see here, Patterns and the pattern language, there are two different terms. Okay, one will be your patterns, one will be your pattern language. So these things are the ways to describe the best practices or good designs, or if you want to capture any experience, all these things you are going to reuse. Whenever this pattern term we will use, whenever we are going to reuse any of the things. Okay, if you have already the design, software designs, and if you have already the experience, so how you are going to reuse all these things in a very best way, that is nothing but that is known as your patterns. So I told you that the design pattern is of four types. Okay, the design pattern is of four types. What is the first pattern? The first pattern is the first one is pattern name. Otherwise you can say it as your pattern elements. Okay, so here the pattern elements are there. So here what all are the four types it has been written. So design pattern elements, how many types? It is four types. The first one is known as your pattern name. This is the first one. Okay, this is known as your pattern name. What is the second one? Second one is known as your problem description. You are going to describe the problems. Next one will be your solution descriptions. You have to, if you have any problem, then definitely you should have some solutions, or you should have some abstract knowledge about the solutions. That description is known as your solution description. And the fourth one is known as your consequences. So these all are the four design pattern elements. Okay, so first one, it is only written name, you can write pattern name. So we have to describe individually, and we have to see what all are the real meaning of all these things. So here you can see the one more thing is there, that is known as your observer pattern. Okay, first you understand what is the meaning of individual things. Okay, then we can put together to understand the concept. Otherwise I'll do one thing, I'll just explain you about these things, the design pattern elements. These are your four elements name. So now what is the meaning of your pattern name? This pattern name will be used whenever you want to describe any design pattern. Okay, and also it will have the name, and wherever there will be a meaningful name. If you want to write in a proper way, like instead of student I want to write, or I want to do the design pattern for student. So if I will not write the name as student, I will write something else, so you can't understand that I have written for student. So whatever the name you are giving, that name should be very meaningful or very identical, so that so that by seeing that name only, it will be very easy to think, and to think about the design, and also it will be easy to communicate how you, to others, how you are going to do the design patterns. So that is the name, the first element, that is your pattern name. It has to be very meaningful, and it has to be like capacity to describe the meanings. Okay, whatever the name you have given. So what is the next one? This is problem description. So what is this meaning of this problem description? This is nothing but this problem describe when you are going to apply for the pattern. Okay, whenever you will apply for the pattern, that time you have to use a problem. And also one more thing it will have, that is it will explain whatever the context is there inside, because sometimes the problem will have the context, and that has to be understand, and it will maybe use some of the algorithms of the problem or something. So you need to have this kind of problems and with the context. So that description is nothing but your problem description. And if you want to add some of the conditions into that problem descriptions, then that also you can do it. Whatever is the next one, that is a solution description. So in solution description, what you are going to do here, you will have the problem. So whenever you are going to describe about the solutions regarding the same problem, and you are going to put all the elements in terms of your design, or you can say relationships, or you can say what are the responsibilities of that problem, what are the collaborations of that problem. So all these things you are going, if you will put together, that is known as your solution descriptions. Here you are going to describe the problem. Okay, that is the first thing. Now the fourth one is consequences. What do you mean by consequences? Consequences in the sense, you have the problem, you have the solution, you have to say that Now if we will go for this solution, what all are the consequences will happen? So nothing, it is nothing but it is like the result. Okay, it is like the result, or some of the trade-off of the if you are applying any patterns. So if the consequences, it will more concentrate on the space, how much time it is taking to execute for a particular program or any software. So that all are the consequences. Okay, so that is the, and just remember, these consequences will help you to like if you want to evaluate any of the design pattern, so that time these consequences will help. So now next one, you can see observer pattern. Okay, there are many patterns are there, around 23 design patterns are there. So here one of the pattern is your observer pattern. So this is nothing but it is an example. Okay, it is an example of your design pattern, and the name of the design pattern is observer. So if I have given this pattern this name, so from here I told you that we have four elements, right? The first one will be name of the pattern. So what is the name of the pattern here? That is observer. So what is the next one? You have to describe about this name. What is this? Okay, so here as per this, it is separating the display of object state from the object itself. So here see, the main problem is in this observer pattern, it is a design pattern. It will define the link between all the objects whatever is present, the objects, and if that objects will stay change the state, that also it has to find out. And if any dependent objects are there, that also it has to update. Okay, all these things has to do. I'll give you the example. Suppose I have one object student. Okay, the student will have, student is the class name, student will have name, phone number, email id, and all these things. So now the next, what you're going to do, suppose you found that now for that object it is changing the state. Now before that, that student one was in active state. Now that student is not present in the college, so that is not active. So now that is a problem created. So that kind of problem you have to describe by using this pattern, design pattern. So what is the problem happened here? In this problem, the objects has been changed the state. Okay, so that is a problem. So if you want to write the solution description for that, what you're going to do, you have to write, you can replace the student, or if you want to update the student data, or if you want to delete the database, that all other things will be the solution. Then what will be the consequences of that design pattern? Consequences will be like, if the student will not there, then definitely the student's strength will be less. So that is the consequences. So that is my observance, right? I have observed in this way. So it doesn't mean that whatever the first person will observe, that also will happen for everybody. It is not like that. So same kind of observer, if I will consider some other people, then they can also observe in a different way. So that observance will be different. They can found some different problem description, they can found some different solutions, and they can give some different consequences. So all these consequences whatever we will get, that all are the things we have to implement in our observer. Okay, so here what happened here, as per this question, the observer pattern, the name of this observer is your name is observer. What is going to be described? So here the observer has to find out the objects, if they are changing any state, or if they are having any updations or alterations of the data or deletions of the data, that kind of things it is going to observe. So next one is what? That is your problem description. So what all are the problem description it will say? That's what I told you. It will define all the links, whatever the links has been present in between the objects, or in between the classes, or in between the states. And if you have some multiple states, how you are going to display. So that kind of things will be your problem descriptions. So what you are going to write the solutions. So first observer is saying that if we will put all these things in terms of our UML description, then maybe we can get the solutions. UML description in the sense you have to put everything in the designatical design way, like a state chart diagram, use case diagram, sequence diagram. So that things are all your UML descriptions. So if you have put all these problems in a diagrammatical way, then maybe we will get the solutions. Then what all are the consequences will come? The consequences will come like the optimizations can enhance the display performance, which will be very impractical. So if it will be like all this, then what will happen? Then it is going to enhance it cannot enhance any display performance. So that is the consequences happen. So now let's see how you're going to write this answer. You have to write in this way: observer pattern 1, because this is the first person observance. Okay, suppose I will give you one example, another example. Suppose you are in the class. So in your class there are 5 teachers are coming, right? Some out of your 60 students, 10 students will say, out of that no, suppose only one teacher is coming to your class. Okay, so out of 60 students, 10 students told that that teacher is very good. Another 10 students told that she is extremely good. Another 10 students told that she is not at all good. Another 10 students, suppose they told that she should not come to our class. So what happened in that case? Now I have 4 varieties of observance, right? So where in my first observe I got that the staff is very good. In my second observe, where I got the staff is extremely good. So in that way, you have kept your patterns. So in that first observe, you got that it is extremely good. So who all are present in that first observe? There are some 10 students. Okay. So here also in the same way, whenever the problem will arise or any solution has given, you need to go through the observer. Okay. So this name you need to remember. So first observer, suppose this is a pattern names and this is a descriptions, and in this way they got some answers. Okay, so this is just an example for the first observer pattern 1. This is the observer. Whenever you will write the answer, you have to write in your own way. Okay, now next what happened again, observer pattern 2. So they also found some of the solutions and some of the consequences. So now what I'm going to do, I have to find out the observe patterns, design pattern. My main aim will be to find out the design pattern. So now, if I will consider my observer 1, I can get in this way the chart where now 40 A has gone for 40 subjects, B 25, C 15, D 20. Some of the values, okay. So if I want to see in this way, in this pattern, I can give in this pattern. So, but my observer 2, they want to see in this bar chart patterns, but the values will be same. They can see this one in this pattern. So here what happened? The different variety of patterns are available. Okay, so we can put our like observance in any of the patterns. So these things are known as your design pattern, but the values will be same. If you want to do the UML model for this, how you are going to do the UML model? Some of the server will be here, some of the object will be here. Okay, so what you are going to do, now the observers has to observe here. If they got something, they are going to update it. So otherwise, if you want to if you want to return some of the state, or you want to delete some state or alter some state, that also you can do, and you are going to update over here. So once you will update, that has to go, that directly it has to connect it with your observer. So in this way, it has to be, you are going to design your UML model. So that UML model, again, it will be dependent on your observer pattern. Okay, so that is the main aim, to find out your design pattern, because in many way you are going to find out these patterns. And one more thing you remember, the observable. Okay, what is that actually? This is an interface where, or you can say that abstract class, fine, wherever you, it will define all the operations. If you want to attach or deattach any of the observers, or if you want to add any of the uh, if you want to add any of the like design patterns into that, that also you can do. So that is nothing but, that is known as your observable patterns. Okay, so that way, that is an interface which will act in mid between your observers, and if you want to add or update or notify any of the things, then you can do it. Okay, that is the observable. If one more is there, that is known as your concrete observable. Okay, so what is that? That is the that belongs to your observable class. Okay, so in that case, you have to maintain all the state. Okay, how, what is the state? Update, alter, delete, or save. These all are the state of the objects where you are going to change. Okay, and one more will be the observer. What that observer will do, they will just define the operations which are going to be used if you are going to notify anything. So that all are the things you have to remember, because many things are there which we need to think about all. See, I'll just write down here for the 3 concepts. The first one is known as your observer. Okay, that is the first thing. Observer. Um, Sorry, observable, first one. Okay, so here what it is going to do, it is an interface. First thing you remember, it is an interface, and this is also known as subject. Okay, this is also known as your subject. So here you have to see the operations. If you have any operations you are going to see, so that kind of things it is going to check it out. Okay, that is a main part of your operation, like observable. Who is the next one? I told you that that is your concrete observable. Okay, these keywords you need to remember. What it is going to do, the concrete observable, it's going to maintain all the state. If you have any state, it is going to maintain all the states. Okay, one more is there, that is my observer, who is going to observe. So what it is going to observe, so here it is going to observe, and it is going to notify you that which object is there, or which object is going to work out. Okay, so these are the three terms you need to remember, that you remember these three terms you are going to remember. Okay, so that things and all belongs to your design patterns. So now if I'll move to your here, like design problems. So what is that design problems now? Here what you are going to do, you have to recognize the design problem through which you are having some of the problems. You don't know what, how you are going to have the solutions of that. So that time you need to associate with all the problems, and you have to find out the problems. Okay, so here what you are going to do, the first thing will be, you should have some objects where it is going to change the state, which is also known as your observer patterns. Whenever they will change state change, that is also known as your observer patterns. And one more is what it is going to do, the next one, which one will be having some number of related objects. Okay, and they will increase always. It means that you are going to add the objects whenever you want. So that kind of patterns is known as your facet patterns. What is the next one? That is your iterator patterns, where you will have some collection of data, and that data always you are going to utilize. So reutilizations if you are going to do, that is known as your iterator patterns. And one more will be their decorator patterns. Okay, so here it will allow to add some more functionality or components, whatever is there existing one, so it is going to add the new things. So these four things are known as your design problems. So your design problems is of four types. That is, the first one will be observer pattern, then packet pattern, then iterator pattern, then decorator patterns. Okay, so this thing also you need to remember, understand the key points so that you can understand it, so that you can understand what all other things are there into that, and how you are going to write all these things, how you are going to understand all these things. Because directly the question will come in such a way that you have to answer, like, but the question will not come any of the, you need to take any example or write. If suppose the question will come, here I have one question where it is asking that for some of the instance you take as computer networks monitoring system, or the monitoring system which is representing as a observer pattern, and then you describe. Okay, so if the question will be in that way, so how you are going to write the answer? Okay, I'll just write down here so that you can um, so what kind of questions will be there, where you are going to have the computer networks monitoring system. Okay, so if it will have the monitoring system, computer network monitoring system, so here what you are going to do, who will be your observer pattern? You need to remember who is your observer pattern here, from where you are going to observe all these things. So your observer pattern will be the monitoring system, because you are going to monitor, right? So along with that you have to write, and you have to find out all the problem solution. This is the name, the observer pattern name I have written. Okay, so this is the name, but you need to write down the problems, and you need to write down the solution of that and the consequences of that. Then only you will be able to get the full marks. Okay, so this is all about your design patterns and the design problems.